Guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Arjun, and in this video, I'm going to talk about the latest Star Wars show, Andor. Also, finally it makes sense for me to wear this shirt because I wore it before for other Obi-Wan and Boba Fett videos, but this time I'm actually wearing it around Christmas time, so it makes sense. So with that said, I'm going to get started talking about Andor, but before I do, let me know down in the comments, what did you think of Andor so far? I'd love to know your thoughts. I know this show, like, a lot of people have been loving it because Star Wars has been very disappointing lately. And I know some people are, like, not loving it because they think it doesn't feel like Star Wars. Like, it doesn't have the classic Star Wars action and stuff like that you usually expect from Star Wars. So I get that, too. I'd love to know your thoughts, so drop them down below in the comments. With that said, I'm going to get started talking about Andor. And like most people, I've been extremely disappointed with most of Star Wars lately. And I think it's just Disney in general, because even Marvel has been going through that a lot. Now, I'm going to get started by saying that I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan in the world. I don't love Star Wars like a lot of other people do. I didn't start watching it until 2 years ago when I started watching season 1 of Mandalorian, and I really liked it. So I went back and watched all the Star Wars movies. And then I started watching the shows and stuff. I still have not checked out the animated stuff, so I don't have like an understanding of the lore like a lot of other Star Wars fans do. So I'm not the biggest Star Wars fan. I'm just a guy that watches their movies and watches their live action shows and enjoys a lot of them. But most of recent Star Wars has been extremely disappointing to me. I think Rise of Skywalker was very disappointing. And I think after that, The Mandalorian came out, which was a breath of fresh air. I really did enjoy The Mandalorian. But then after that, we got Boba Fett, which I think is just a bad show. And from beginning to end, there was like very few episodes that actually were enjoyable. I do like the 2 Mandalorian episodes, but they're not even about Boba Fett. So it's like, I don't even think they should have been part of the show. And Obi-Wan was just a huge disappointment for me because I was really excited for the show. It was probably like my second or third most anticipated show of the year. And it just ended up being very mediocre. I was very disappointed by it. There was a few good episodes. I do like seeing Darth Vader again. But for the most part, I just found it to be a huge disappointment. So Andor had a really like tough job of bringing me back into Star Wars in a way that I enjoy it. And I'm thankful to say that it did. I really, really love this show. As someone that's been really disappointed by most of Star Wars, I think this is a nice breath of fresh air, a change of pace that is just completely different from most of the stuff in the franchise, but it's still absolutely incredible and still has a Star Wars flavor to it because of all the grand stuff going on. And I think it's just that's what makes this so good. It doesn't feel like it's constrained to the usual stuff that Star Wars is. It feels like it can do something new and explore some different things that we haven't seen before from a perspective of a character that's extremely interesting, but we never got to spend a lot of time with. I love the fact that this show goes into like what rebels are like in general, because we never got to see a lot of that before A New Hope. We like, this is the first time we actually got into a rebel's perspective and see what their life is like and how like being a spy and a rebel is very like a tough job, and you have to do some tough things at times, and that leads you down a dark path. And that's what happened to Andor in this show, and I really love that for that reason. Now, I know some people are claiming it to be like the greatest Star Wars thing ever, top 3 Star Wars. I don't know if I can say that yet, but it's definitely up there. I think it's absolutely amazing. I do think there's a few episodes in the middle of the show that I didn't completely love that other people did. But with that said, I still really enjoyed this show, and especially the I think the starting of it just did a great job of hooking me in. The first 3 episodes are just absolutely amazing, and once I started watching them, I couldn't stop. I wanted to watch every single episode right away. So what I did was I just took a pause in between and watched like the last 6-7 episodes all in like 3 days at the end when the finale came out, because I didn't want to wait that long between the episodes, because I just really loved what the show was doing. I think the first 3 episodes did a great job of kind of setting the tone for the show, and I think they also did a great job of just having a character that we can root for, but is also in a way just does some things that he probably shouldn't do. I am going to go into spoilers in this video, so if you have not seen the show, do not watch the rest of this video because I'm going to spoil it for you. With that said, I think in the first episode, when it starts off with like at the end of the episode where Andor kills like 2 officers over there, and like that's something that you know it's not necessarily the right thing to do, but he did it, and we can still root for him because of the context of the situation of what he's doing, what his job is. And I think that's just incredible of bringing us into this character's shoes that does some things that aren't necessarily the right thing, but he's a rebel and he has to like fight for his life, fight for his cause. And I think that's just something that this show did a great job of showing. And technically hasn't joined the rebellion yet. He doesn't do that until the end of the show. But I still think just on a story level, what they did with this character was amazing. And I think it's either the third or the fourth episode where Andor is trapped with Stellan Skarsgård's character. His name is Luthen. And I think that character is just amazing. Stellan Skarsgård does a great job of just playing him to like, and he just emotes him really well. He has a monologue in the second to last episode, I think, which is just amazing. And him as a character in general is just a very interesting and fascinating addition to the Star Wars franchise. And in episode 3, when they both are trying to escape, there's a lot of great action, there's a lot of great tension, and that is the episode that really, like, to me, kind of like did a great job of showing what this show can be. And that's the episode to me that I just fell in love with the show. I realized that this is what Star Wars can be and should be, and this is one of the best things to come out of Star Wars, and that's where I really started feeling that. Now, I don't completely love the middle of the show like a lot of other people seem to. I think there's a few episodes that are too slow and kind of go into the politics a lot, and the politics stuff is, to me, the least interesting part, because the senator person, I think her name is Mon Mothra. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm pretty sure that's her name. And like her whole storyline to me felt very like not interesting. I wasn't as interested in that as I was in the actual story going on with the Andor. And it's not necessarily bad. I just think every time we cut to that, I wanted to go back to Andor and watch what's going on, because I found that a lot more interesting and fascinating compared to the politics stuff, which is something I kind of have a gripe with the prequel trilogy of Star Wars. There's just a ton of politics. And in here, it's not as bad, but I still think it was not interesting. And I wish we got to see less of that and more of actual Andor's story in the middle section of the show. I also think the show kind of has a villain problem. It's not bad. I don't think neither of the villains are bad. They're just kind of forgettable. Like, we have two officers, and I don't remember either of their names, to be completely fair. Because, like, I think they're both, like, interesting in their own right. But the female officer, she's just, like, really kind of blunt. She doesn't have a lot of emotion. I don't think the actress does a great job of bringing her emotions to range, and I don't think it's necessarily her fault, because the writing on her character is just so generic that I don't think she ever got a chance to flex her acting muscles and show what she can actually do as an actress, because just the writing on her character, she just comes off as just kind of angry all the time, and it just never really worked for me. And I think the other the guy from the beginning that tried to go after Andor, I think he's a good villain. I wish we got to see more of him as a villain, but I think in the middle of the show where he's just like with his mom the entire time, I thought that whole section was just kind of boring. I do think he was like a better villain though than the other officer. I think he just did a great job because he was like really conflicted in a lot of ways. I think the stuff going on with his character was really interesting, and when he gets to the end of the show, when he tries to go after Andor and saves the other officer, I think that was a really interesting thing that he did, because I did not expect something like that from him. I thought he was just going to go after Andor and like not care about anything else, but I really like what they did with his character. But of course, I gotta talk about Andy Serkis in this show, and I think his character is just an amazing addition to Star Wars. But obviously, we don't see more of him after I think it's the second to last episode. We don't see anything from him, but I really wish we did, because he is just such an incredible character. Andy Serkis is one of like the greatest actors working right now, and like the motion capture stuff he does for Star Wars The Last Jedi is amazing. Obviously, he was Gollum in Lord of the Rings. Like, I think he's an amazing actor in that way, but he also is just a really good actor when he is on screen as himself. And I think this show really proved that, because when we're first introduced to him, he's like just a normal guy. But eventually, as we see more of him, we see that he's also conflicted. He cares about all these people in this prison, and when they're all trying to escape, he like helps them. And at the end, when he has to stay after because he can't swim and he gets captured again, I'm assuming they might have killed him because he helped them escape. So he might have been dead at that point. But I still think just his character, what they did with him, his like banter, not necessarily banter, but his confliction with Andor, like the way both of them see what's going on in the prison, is very interesting. And I love that about his character, because he's like basically in a way a complete opposite of what Andor believes. but he's also supporting him because he realizes that Andor is right. Whatever he's saying is actually the truth. And I think the whole prison part of the show is very good. Like, I thought it was going to be something like just a complete side quest that I'm not going to like at all, but I ended up absolutely loving the part, and it ended up being one of my favorite parts of the entire show. When they escape, I think that whole part is absolutely amazing, and like there's a lot of good action, there's just a lot of tension building up, and it's so satisfying because you see that the guys that are holding them in the prison they're bad people, they're horrible people, and when they escape, it's just so satisfying because yeah, they're prisoners, but they don't deserve what's actually going on to them, what's happening to them. And I think that whole part was amazing. And I think Andor, that's what it did a great job of. Even its side quests, for the most part, are really interesting or really fun. And when, like, before this happens, before the whole prison segment, there's another side quest where they go after the Imperial, like, they're stealing some stuff from the Empire. And when that happens, I found that really fun. And I do think it's some of the weaker stuff in the show because, like I said, the middle segment of the show, I think could have been better because the episodes weren't necessarily as interesting as they could have been. I think they had a lot of politics, but what was actually going on when they were stealing all the stuff and the supplies from the Empire, I think that whole segment was really cool. I think that episode is one of the best episodes of the show. And I think the last 4 episodes is just such a great stretch of amazing episodes that I was just on the edge of my seat of in the last 4 episodes. And then when you get to the finale, there's just a lot of great stuff going on. I do think the speech by Andor's mom went on for too long. I think that whole, that could have been shortened. I was really like, I really liked it for a while, but eventually it just felt like they were just taking it for too long. I wish that was cut down, but really that finale is absolutely amazing, and it's a great finale. It's easily the best finale of any of the Star Wars shows, maybe other than Mandalorian season 2 because Luke Skywalker shows up in that one and that was a ton of fun, but it's just an amazing finale. There's a lot of great action when all the people start fighting back against the Empire, and it's just the action is insane. There's a lot of great stuff going on, and there's a lot of story behind what's going on in the finale because we see everything that built up to this moment. And when you have Andor that's like trying to save Bix and all that stuff, there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of emotions going in, and it's just so satisfying to watch everything take place. And I think that's what this finale did a great job of to me. It's brought everything to a satisfying conclusion, and it made everything that worked about the rest of the show, it put it all in one episode and made it work. I do think the ending was a little bit abrupt, but I still like it because it kind of leaves on a cliffhanger, but it does also conclude everything that happened in this season, and we see Andor finally join the rebellion. At least I think this is when he joins the rebellion because that's what, like, it seems like that's what's going on. And in season 2, we're going to see more of that. And I think this show just was really incredible with what it did. And I wish we get to see more stuff from Star Wars at this quality because this was absolutely incredible. And I'm really surprised by how much I ended up liking this show because Andor is a character I don't like as much as Boba Fett. I don't like him as much as Obi-Wan, but I ended up liking his show way more than Obi-Wan and Boba Fett. So I really enjoyed Andor. So I'm going to give Andor an A-. I really love this show. I do think the middle could have been a little bit better, but overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great show, and it's just from beginning to end, I was really enjoying it. And although I do think that some of the episodes in the middle could have been better, they were still good, and I still liked it way more than most of Star Wars recently. So I'm just glad we finally got something from Star Wars that is great again. And I think this show is just great. And I hope the rest of Star Wars that we get soon, like Mandalorian Season 3, I hope the rest is on par with this show because this was absolutely incredible. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. Let me know down in the comments, what did you think of Andor if you've seen it? If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.